Thad Brown along with Carl Jones here talking about the film, the all-22 copy of the Bills game against the Ravens. A lot of different things to discuss from this because, tale of two halves with the Bills. The one team in the first half that didn't show, and then the team in the second half that, stole the game, took the game over. But I want to go right to the crux of it, the very part of this game that was decided. The goal line stand for the Bills, end of the fourth quarter. You might have seen it on social media. The Ravens have second and goal from the 1, and Matt Milano gets a 3-yard tackle for a loss that puts the Ravens in a passing situation. Bills were able to get out of it with no points. Milano made the tackle. Brandon Bryant made the play, though. The defensive tackle, the reserve, hasn't played a lot this year, ended up taking on 3 different Raven blockers. And let me tell you, anytime a defensive tackle takes 2, that's usually a win for the defense. You take 3, and you get a game-changing play. But, Carl, you brought something up when we talked about this play. It wasn't just that Bryant made a good play. He made a pretty gutsy play, too.
Yeah, as well. So the Bills were in a stunt right there where the defensive linemen, or in the ends in particular, Bryant, they weren't outside because in order for the linebackers to get downhill. And by doing that, the defensive linemen have to swim move and, kind of have to reduce their body surface a little bit so they can
turn sideways
a little bit, right? But in doing so and playing being in those positions a little bit, not obviously in the trenches, but, having to reduce your body surface and play sideways a little bit. If you get caught the wrong way, offensive line get right up under you, and now he's taking you wherever he wants to take you. And it's a gutsy play by Bryant, and by doing so, he was so quick and it was so beautiful. It was so perfect in how he did so because he took out 3 blockers, like you said. But if he misses and doesn't get off as quickly as he did or make the move as sound as he did, he's going 5 yards in the backfield, and J.K. Dobbins is walking into the end zone. So it was a gutsy play by him, obviously a gutsy play by Leslie Frazier to put him in that position. But just shout out to Bryant for just honing on his technique on that specific play and then answering the call.
Is that a called thing where the tackle to do what he's supposed to do in that spot has to swim, or is that Bryant taking a shot and thinking my best opportunity here for penetration and to stop this play is to go swim and kind of it's big risk, big reward, but if I hit, it's a 3-yard loss?
I think it's a little bit of both because it was clear if you look at the other defensive end on that play as well, they both were stunting outside. Now it's how do you want to get outside? Are you just going to just move laterally to get to that point, or are you going to swim and be cute in doing so? So I think it was a little bit of Frazier taking the risk of putting their guys in a stunt because still they could have executed the stunt and not been able to execute it the perfect way because Emmons could not fill the gap as well as he would have liked. So I think it's a little bit of both of the call being gutsy and also Bryant with his technique also being a little gutsy as well.
Execution was flawless. I thought Bryant had a pretty solid game against the Ravens overall beyond that play. Now, look, that play, you make that play, you can screw up 3 others and no one's minding because you made the play that matters. But I thought Bryant top to bottom had a fairly solid day. The other thing about that sequence, and you and I talked a lot about this yesterday, look, Lamar Jackson's MVP deserves all the credit he gets. But in this game, at a macro level, and I think especially in that sequence, Lamar Jackson reading down the field, being confident, being able to make big boy NFL throws, he didn't do hardly any of that in this game. And I've seen him, when he came to Buffalo for the playoff game a couple years ago, it was a similar thing where tight window throws, things you'd see the Herberts and the Josh Allens and the Mahomes make, Lamar Jackson doesn't even try. And in this sequence, after that play, so the Ravens are only in 3rd and goal from the 3 at that point. That's hardly an, end of the world situation. Lamar Jackson on the next play drops back, nothing's open, scrambles up the middle. Tremaine Edmonds blew a tire trying to cover the backup tight end, Isaiah Likely, and ended up on the ground. Likely standing in the middle of the end zone, building a campfire, roasting marshmallows, while Lamar Jackson's scrambling. All Jackson has to do at the 5-yard line is look up, and he could have free-throwed it into the end zone for a touchdown. Never has his eyes up. The Bills make a tackle and stop him. And then on the next play, the 4th down play. Now this one's been passed around. You might have seen it. But again, Jackson has 2 open options. One is the back who motioned in the slot to his left immediately. Probably would have been a walk-in touchdown if he just drops back, turns, and throws. I was thinking about this the other day, though, and correct me if I'm wrong here. On that play, running back goes in the slot in motion. Milano, the linebacker, is not on him head up, but he's kind of attached to the scrimmage, line of scrimmage, the tackle. If Lamar turns immediately, Milano probably reacts and makes a play to where, is it 50-50 he scores, or how easy do you think he scores there?
On first glance, I thought, wow, that slot receiver is wide open, or that running back in that case. But also, I think there was 2 situations where that could have gone terrible in the one example you're saying with Milano just jumping in front, we've seen players make that play. But also, we had a coverage at Syracuse where it's kind of a cover two, but when you see anything, you trigger.
Yeah.
And Elam, who was at the top of the screen, if he sees a hot throw like that, he can just literally, I don't know what the coverage they were in that play, but if that wasn't another example of that in the back of Lamar's head, like, oh, is that corner hot? Could he do something about that play? So I thought about that after we talked about it, and he could have been open, but like you said, it was a 50-50 chance of whether the Bills were in the right defense to defend it or Lamar just didn't
Even
want
look, all that said, you know, if Lamar drops back, stares down to safety, and then throws it after the running back takes a step towards the end zone, then it's a walk-in. So either way, that was choice A. Choice B, there was a corner route by the inside receiver out of a trips group formation that was also wide open. Now, look, to be fair, Shaq Lawson had a nice rush and was able to kind of interrupt the play a little bit. But still, Lamar Jackson had 3 guys open on the last 2 plays and really never even looked at any of the 3 guys. I don't want to say that Lamar Jackson is a terrible quarterback, but I think this is a significant weakness people have talked about with this guy and why the Ravens can't get things done in the playoffs. He's been better. I think he's improved as a passer. But, you know, this was not just these 2 plays. This was multiple times throughout this game. We saw spots where Lamar Jackson could have pulled the trigger and did not.
I mean, Leslie Frazier joked about it a little bit earlier this week about having the secret sauce to stopping Lamar. And I think the Bills do an excellent job of having those tight zone windows and forcing Lamar to make some of those, throws where he's not as comfortable doing so. Because, once again, taking it back to college a little bit, unfortunately, played against Lamar twice, didn't go so well. But the scouting report on Lamar was to force him to make some of those NFL-like throws. And he's so athletic that, you know, the zones are a little bit more wide just because, you know, you're
it's
a little
college.
Yeah, exactly. And obviously teams in the NFL haven't really found the secret sauce. And to be fair, he's a great player. You're not going to find one size fit all to stop him. However, the Bills have found an excellent way to make him second guess and, you know, make him think a little bit back there in the pocket, and they do an excellent job in doing so.
One thing I thought about with Lamar, you think about all guys in the NFL, how do you win? You know, not everyone's blessed with the kind of athleticism Lamar has. With Josh Allen, how does he win? Well, he can run the ball. He can run you over, but he's also got the arm talent too, and I think he's understood that when he scrambles, he's more likely or better off winning if he can keep that throw option on the line all the way to get to the line of scrimmage. I think with Lamar, he's so athletic. He doesn't have to keep the throw option open because you know what? I can tuck and run, and I'm probably going to beat you most of the time. And he's not wrong. But in this situation, I think it helped cost him a game.
And I think to go on that a little bit further, with Josh Allen, when they acquired Stephon Diggs and a couple of other pass catchers, it kind of forced Josh Allen to, you know, I have to rely on my arm a little bit more. And I know it's been talked about ad nauseum with Greg Roman being their offensive coordinator. But they have like this leash on that Baltimore offense where it's so limited. And I'm of the belief, you know what, if you guys want to take that next step and make a Super Bowl type run, sink or swim with that offense and trusting his arm. If he can make the throws, he can. And if he can't, so be it. Go get a number 1 receiver that he can have a little bit more trust in, like Josh Allen does with Stephon Diggs. But you're 100% right. In those situations where he needs to make throws with his arm, he doesn't do so, whether it's a lack of trust from his teammates or he just physically can't make those throws.
One more point in that end of game sequence. And this would have been, I think, a big talking point if the Ravens score there and the Bills lose. Von Miller, the $50-whatever million pass rusher, is not on the field for 2nd, 3rd, and 4th down there. You know, now look, you pay all this guy to come in and be the big man, you're getting in a spot. Now look, it's a little different than 30 seconds to go when the Bills are up 3 to where you got to protect, or up 4, you're protecting a lead there. If the Ravens score, there's still 3 minutes left and the Bills have a chance to go down and tie. So it's not the end of the world. But I was surprised to see, where's 40? You know, this is the game being decided potentially if 40 was on the field. But I bring that up to say this. Shaq Lawson and Greg Russo were the 2 ends in those 3 plays. And they did a damn good job, especially Shaq Lawson. I mean, look, the 3rd down play, Shaq goes through a double team to cause a problem on the throw. I mean, not a huge problem, but he was the one that basically chases Lamar. And Shaq's the one that at the beginning of the 4th down play is pushing Lamar out the back of the pocket. Greg Rousseau didn't quite get pressure, but he did a nice job of making sure Lamar doesn't escape outside and has to go backwards. So even though Von Miller's not on the field, your reserve ends were the ones making plays there. That's incredibly encouraging for the Bills.
I mean, think about it in recent memory, the backup reserve ends for the Bills making plays that late in the game.
Even the starting ends, you know, making plays, yeah.
So the fact that, you know, Rousseau, who is a starting end, but, you know, he wasn't, and there was reserve roles in previous years, the fact that against Lamar Jackson, one of the more difficult guys to keep in the pocket and go up against, you have to change your entire rush mentality going against Lamar Jackson. You know, everyone else, ready, set, hike, I'm going to go get that quarterback, right? Lamar Jackson, you do that, he's going down the sideline, and now he's dancing in your face. So the fact that they were able to be disciplined, especially in that three-play sequence to end the game, nothing but kudos to them.
All right, let's move away from just those 3 plays, talk about a couple other things. Yesterday, there's a Twitter feed called NFL Rookie Watch. It's one of those Twitter feeds that they just pump out happy stuff about players and various stats and just try and, get clicks and follows and whatever. There's a million feeds do it, and some are, more talented than others. One of the things they posted yesterday was a stat about how Kyer Elam hasn't allowed a whole lot of yards this year, less than a lot of other corners. Sauce Gardner, Marshawn Lattimore, big name guys. Now look, I think Elam's had a pretty solid start to his career. He hasn't been asked to do a lot, but this was one that kind of got you talking a little bit in the office, and I want to let you kind of have the floor with the Kyer Elam start to the season.
Well, it got my attention because, one, as a cornerback, when you see as a former cornerback, you see those stats and you're excited, like, yo, like someone's giving me pub, especially when you're not making plays on the ball. But I've been watching the Bills keenly the first 4 weeks because I want to see, how he's doing in these first 4 weeks without Trey White. Dane Jackson wasn't there a little bit. And the Bills just don't ask him to do a ton.
Yeah.
And to put him on the same in the same conversation at all with some of these other guys who have a lot more on their plate, I think it's doing a disservice to the other great players in the league. I think you hit it right on the nail, though. He hasn't been good or bad. He's just been solid. Because
he's been fine.
He's been fine because he just hasn't been asked to do much. I mean, I think I saw maybe 4 or 5 press reps the entire game. And obviously, you can judge a corner outside of just his press man reps. But the Bills, because they have such a great front four, there's Jordan Poyer is so great in the deep middle and how he roams that side of the ball, and Milano and Edmonds as well. They just don't ask their corners to do a whole lot of much. And to be fair, Titans aren't going to test them that much. Obviously, the Baltimore Ravens with their offensive attack is
especially in the rain. Yeah.
Exactly. And then the Ravens, then the Rams, poor Matt Stafford doesn't trust anyone outside of Cooper Kupp. So he hasn't been tested a ton, and I don't know if that'll change much against Kenny Pickett, but the Steelers do have some dunk artists on the outside who maybe will test him a little bit more. But look, I love all the stats boosting up corners, but pump the brakes a little bit on the Kyer Elam guys.
I mean, to be fair, though, I think he's done, look, without knowing what the calls are, I think for the most part, it feels like he's done what the Bills have asked him to do. I will say we talked about the Miami game last week. It seemed like there were a few instances where it didn't look like he was doing anything, and the Dolphins were able to exploit his side of the field. Again, I don't know if it was his fault and all. But look, for a guy who's in his first year, I know if he wasn't a first-round pick, if Kyer was a third-round pick, I think we'd be like, you know what, this is fine, this is cool, Bill's doing good. Because he's a first-round pick, because he's had a little bit more hype than your average draft pick, I think, like you said, pumping the brakes is a good way to think about it. We'll see where he goes. But to talk about him as an elite corner or a top guy, we need to see a whole lot more, a whole lot more challenge before that happens. In this game, to be honest, I thought he was better this game than against Miami. There was one play, I didn't see what the receiver was, might have been Bateman, where he kind of got him on a short out and then post route. And if the pressure wasn't on top of Lamar Jackson, that's a first down. But I thought in general he was pretty good in this game.
Yeah, another situation, Bateman had like an outside release and in the red zone, I believe, and Elam was there step for step with him. I'm like, oh, those are the plays that you drafted him to do, use his length and use his speed. And then other situations, I know it's frustrating for him where he's just bailing on every snap, and it's just like, man, I want to challenge receivers. So once again, you can only do what your coach asks you to do, and they haven't asked him to do a ton. But I'm sure that'll change as he gets a little bit more comfortable in the playbook and in the defense in general.
That's the other part of it, too. They're taking this guy and what he's comfortable doing, press man, being in your face, and asking him not to do it over and over and over. It's got to be difficult for a young guy for sure. I want to move on to the offensive line now for the Bills. I thought the last 2 games they really struggled, both in the run and the pass game. This one totally different. I only had the Bills charted with less than 10 pressures. Haven't quite finished. I got one more drive to do, but only 6 pressures all the way through into early in the fourth quarter. Really good against the Ravens team that had a decent amount of creative blitzes, and for the most part when the Ravens went just straight up 4-man rush, the Bills stoned him. So I thought the offensive line did well. In the run game, though, there has not been much success since that Rams game. And even in the Rams game, it seemed like when the Bills ran it well, they did it because Ken Dorsey did a good job of scheming numbers in their favor. Motion to one side, extra guys to give the Bills an advantage blocking-wise. This team, as we've seen the past few years, just does not block the run well. And I know people want to get on Zach Moss for not being effective, and he hasn't been. Look, Zach Moss has his own issues, but it's really more of a problem in front of him than it is him. And you brought up on Wednesday, Sean McDermott was asked about the question, or it was asked about it in the terms of, hey, you're not running the ball traditionally well. Why not just use a short passing game to be your run game? And that's been talked about a lot. You brought up a great point about why that may not be the answer.
One, we talked about it last week a little bit. If the defenses know that you can't run the ball and those short passes are your only way of moving the ball in chunks like that, then they'll just use that press man that the Dolphins used last week and the Ravens used as well. But also, he was very tongue-in-cheek about it, and he had like a little smirk on him when
Sean
McDermott did, yeah, where he was talking about still wanting to run the ball traditionally. And he said that he didn't want to give away too much strategy as to why he felt that way, and he understood the analytics behind it. But I remember in college one time when I was talking to our left tackle, and I asked him, I'm like, yo, how difficult is it you're the one position on the field where you're at a distinct athletic disadvantage. Receivers and DBs are similar. Running backs and linebackers are similar, right? But you're the one guy on the field who every single snap, the guy against you is running, and these days, 4.4. You know, they're much more athletic. Their broad jumps are ridiculous, 3 cones, all that stuff. The more explosive, athletic. How do you go against that every single snap? And obviously your technique is one thing, but sometimes you just need brute force, and the only way you can do that is by going forward in the run game. And unfortunately, this Bills offensive line, for whatever reason, isn't built to go forward. So if you ask an offensive lineman, these heavier guys, to go backwards every single snap, you're right into the defensive lineman's breadbasket. They love that, going forward, using their athleticism, using their explosiveness, and that's tough for a Bills offensive line to make Josh Allen throw 50, 60, and put so much on his plate. And it hurts the offensive line because to give them a break, let me just go forward and slow this guy down. How you slow down Von Miller, you go right at him. How you slow down Nick Bosa, you go right at him. Like, don't allow him to go in his track stance and just look at the quarterback like, oh, I'm about to go get you. Like, that's the one way that you slow them down. And unfortunately, the Bills can't really go forward in the same traditional sense of running the football so far.
It does. Not only it wears out Josh Allen, more contact on him, but it also can wear out the tackles. You know, and it's a question. The Bills don't need to run more. We've talked about this for months. They just need to be more effective when they do run it. You know, the few times that they are given an opportunity to do it. They weren't very good running the ball in this game, although I think the offensive line in general had a pretty solid day. And this has been a recurring problem. We'll probably continue to talk about it because you're not going to fix this midseason. The one disappointment is I think Roger Saffold in large part was brought in to be that guy to kind of add a little nastiness, add a little ability to go forward. And frankly, so far, he's been one of the chief culprits of why they can't do it. Again, in this game, I thought he was a lot better, but it's something the Bills have to improve on going forward.
Especially on those short yardage situations where you don't want to be cute trying to, figure out a way to get the ball. And I know Josh Allen saved them a couple times on that 4th and 1 where he made a Josh Allen-like play. Getting that 4th and short. But how often do you want to put your quarterback in harm's way like that? I'm sure the Bagulas up top aren't too happy about every single time we need a critical yard, putting our $250 million investment
on the
in
line.
harm's way.
I want to say this too, a couple quick points, and let me know if you have any other quick things you want to hit here. Ken Dorsey, offensive coordinator, in a spot where not a lot was working early, where, like we said, the traditional run game isn't there. I thought he did a nice job finding offense in the second half. Again, found some run plays where he could create some numbers, used Josh Allen very well. The 4th and 1 call was brilliant. I mean, not hard. Roll Josh Allen out, give him a run pass option, and let him do his thing. Still, you made the call. It was the right call, especially after the 3rd and 1 run to Zach Moss that the whole stadium saw coming a mile away. It was terrible. I thought Ken Dorsey did a nice job second half. Again, up front, I like Brandon Bryant, Tim Settle. Beyond that, Stephon Diggs didn't get a lot of credit for this. There was that one 23-yarder on the sideline that he snagged. It looked like one-handed almost. Yeah. I mean, look, when you can have a play like that, he had another 3rd down conversion that led to the opening drive field goal for the Bills. Having him around doesn't get talked about enough. Being able to just make a couple plays to let everybody breathe, I thought it was a big part of this game.
The one talking point for me is Matt Milano. I mean, I know.
We should have talked about him earlier. Go ahead.
I mean, he doesn't get enough credit, and I don't want to be too hot takey here, but in terms of like linebackers in the NFL, I don't think it's remiss to say he's a top 10 guy. Like, and the things that he can do.
It feels like he should be.
He should be,
yeah.
And I know he maybe doesn't get the national love because he doesn't play Mike, and I know the mystique about playing Mike versus Will, but he did everything. I saw him press man against Isaiah Likely, who is more of a receiver than tight end for the Bills. So I'm impressed, man. I was taking on Lamar Jackson in the open field. I tried to do it. It went terrible. Okay. So the fact that Matt Milano can do it speaks a lot.
He did it twice. Open field tackles.
Man. Yep. So, and they looked clean. It wasn't like he was struggling to do so. They were nice, clean tackles. Doing that and playing man coverage and obviously cleaning up some of the alleyways that the D-line created for him. Just an all-around excellent game from him. Obviously, Poyer was more than deserving of being AFC Defensive Player of the Week, but if Matt Milano got it, I'm sure everyone in Orchard Park and the Bills media would have been like, yeah, he deserved it too.
For sure. All right, we are done for now. We'll do this again every Wednesday night, just breaking down what we see from the All-22, the film from each Bills game. He's Carl Jones. I'm Thad Brown. Click on something else here at RochesterFirst.com.